It's official. We now have a date for the first contest of the 2024 Republican presidential race. The Iowa Republican Party announced that it plans to hold its caucuses on January 15th. Now, that's weeks earlier than in recent years, which could help thin out the field of GOP hopefuls ahead of other states' primaries. Let's discuss with NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray, former aide to the George W. Bush White House, and MSNBC political analyst Elise Jordan, and former Obama campaign manager Jim Messina. Great to see all of you. Mark, with this date now set for the Iowa caucus and earlier than usual, how crucial is that state for these candidates?
Yeah, if you're going to stop Donald Trump, you need to be able to do so in Iowa. And with that date now on January 15th, it means that we have 6 months to go. And of course, there's going to be a debate that we'll end up having next month. But certainly now the clock is ticking. It is worth noting that there is plenty of time, that 6 months is plenty of time to win a state like Iowa. But certainly the path to defeating Donald Trump is this, that if somehow Donald Trump is able to win Iowa, then it is going to be very, very difficult for the other candidates to catch up with him. So if you're Ron DeSantis, you are Tim Scott, your best path to beating Donald Trump and winning the Republican nomination is winning in Iowa.
And so, of course, the hearts and minds are what's up for grabs there with these Iowa voters, Elise. And the Iowa governor, Kim Reynolds, she could be influential here. Here's what the New York Times is saying. Ms. Reynolds has said, including privately to Mr. Trump, that she does not plan to formally endorse a candidate in the presidential race. But through her words and deeds, Ms. Reynolds seems to be softening the ground in Iowa for Mr. DeSantis, appearing to try to create the conditions for an opening for him to take on Mr. Trump. So what game is the governor trying to play here, do you think? And could she help or hurt people?
She definitely stands to help, but I don't think that the governor's endorsement will necessarily carry any one candidate over the finish line. It's going to come down to the ground game and what's happening in Iowa. And in past years, we saw where Ted Cruz won in Iowa, then previously Ron Paul. Iowa tends to favor insurgent Republican candidates who, you know, we thought, I worked on Rand Paul's campaign in 2016, and so there was an assumption that, oh, he could win in Iowa. It would be an easy, all the organizers would come back. And really, in retrospect, Iowa voters, Republican caucus voters, were going for the crazy upstart trying to shake up the system.
Well, and of course, Jim, we know that that was a huge part of really creating momentum for President Obama when he was a candidate, his bounce he got from Iowa. Let me just pivot, though, and ask you about a different topic here. Another governor who is running for the GOP nomination is North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. He's also a billionaire businessman. And listen to his response when he asked if he would do business with Trump.
Would you ever do business with Donald Trump?
I don't think so.
Why?
I just think that it's important that you're judged by the company you keep, and You
just wouldn't do business with him?
No, I wouldn't.
So, Jim, he seemed to be kind of careful with his words there. But do you think this is something that could hit Trump, given Trump's identity as a businessman?
No, because none of these guys have the guts to actually go after Trump and highlight all the people who have been damaged by Donald Trump business dealings. You know, and this includes in 2016 when the Democrats didn't make it an issue in the general election. So someone's got to go straight out and go after him on this issue. And right now, none of the Republican challengers seem to want to be able to do it. You know, later in that same interview, Anna, Burgum said he'd vote for Trump and, you know, trying to assuage the base. I think Elise has it exactly right. You know, Iowa's a place where the more extreme candidates kind of move. People like Doug Burgum, who want to tap dance all over the place, are just not going to move in Iowa. And I think it's a silly strategy. At some point, to beat the king, you got to take him on.
Trump went from Iowa to Las Vegas over the weekend. And guess who was with him? We learned Roger Stone joined the former president on his private plane. Elise, is Stone not a liability for Trump, given his connection to January 6th?
Is anything a liability for Donald Trump? Donald Trump still associates with plenty of people who had some role with January 6th. Nothing seems to hurt him. He's unscathed so far until Trump actually gets tied himself to January 6th. We don't know what's going to happen with Jack Smith. We really don't know how the legalities of all of this is going to end. I don't think that Trump ever is going to be guilty by association when it's so hard for him to be proven guilty when he's actually done something.
But he's here with Stone. I mean, why Stone? Why do you think he's keeping him so close?
Stone's a good political operative. He's a ruthless political operative, and that tells you something of how Donald Trump is approaching his campaign and why other Republican primary candidates aren't succeeding so far.
Mark, despite all of Trump's legal troubles, he maintains this huge lead in the polls. Governor DeSantis was on Fox Business. He was asked point blank why, after 6 weeks in the race, he hasn't made any gains on Trump's lead. Take a listen.
What's going on with your campaign? There was a lot of optimism about you running for president earlier in the year. What happened?
Oh, Maria, these are narratives. The media does not want me to be the nominee. I think that's very, very clear. Why? Because they know I'll beat Biden.
Mark, the polls aren't everything, but even his own super PAC has expressed concern about how DeSantis is doing. Any signs that DeSantis' campaign is making any adjustments?
Well, in that same interview, Ron DeSantis also ended up saying that, you know, the Republican nomination isn't a national poll either. And he's right about that if he's able to actually do very well in Iowa, use that as a springboard for the later Super Tuesday contest, that is his path to capturing the Republican nomination. But what has actually happened over the last month or two is that Donald Trump has actually ended up strengthening his position with Republican primary voters. Yes, Ron DeSantis has lost altitude, but I think also the other part of that equation is that Donald Trump has gained ground, and it's come after first that indictment in New York State in that alleged hush money case back in April. And then, of course, the next indictment that he ended up getting in the federal case regarding the Mar-a-Lago classified documents. And so it does seem that if every indictment comes, that Donald Trump's support ends up getting stronger in the Republican Party. Now, there's still a couple more legal challenges for the president, the former president. And so it remains to be seen if that trend continues. But that is something that's been going on.
Jim, just quickly, if you will, I'm out of time, but you know the inner workings of campaigns. So I'm curious your take. What's the best way to rebound from low poll numbers?
Focus on Iowa. Just try to move in Iowa. They've got to stay very focused on that. Their PAC yesterday said they were doing the Obama 2007 strategy. I think it's smart. They're putting all their chips in Iowa to see if they can move there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jim Messina, Elise Jordan, and Mark Murray. I appreciate the discussion today.